Life in the Outposts. 60 years after the Magi clan had concealed their whereabouts and cut ties from the rest of the world, the outposts began to reappear over the course of 30 days. Much had changed since the 2-year war for the rest of the world, but for those who decided to flee to the outposts, things were much grislier. Each outpost, being set on an island, had served as a tremendous defense during the construction, but did little in the way of fur farming, and as such the residents went years suffering from a lack of nutrients and starvation at one point. In the first year alone, the total population of the Magi clan and the outposts had diminished by more than 75%. After the first year, each outpost was enraged by the ignorance of the head of the Magi clan. It was determined by the Magi clan that the total population must be restricted to one of each of the outposts based on their specific magical intuition, and the population would only be allowed to travel to their own outpost and the central outpost through means of the portals on the highest floor of the central outpost. Though with time the denizens came to terms with their reality and embraced it, many decided to do something about their situation by turning most of the lower floors of the central outpost into working farms, which would prove to supply all outposts with the necessary food they needed, with rationing of course. Those who did not help with the farm helped in other ways by organizing their outposts, studying magic, and other bureaucratic endeavors at the central outpost. With the population being split amongst different outposts, specific spells and magics were curated through the proximity of similar magics, which gave mages who practiced frequently a fast mastery over their outpost magic. After approximately 10 years, the outposts had each had a solidified category: blood, fire, perspective, stealth, and divine magics, which would later be known as the 5 recognized schools of magic, each with distinct and separate uses and outcomes. Blood magic was developed through strife and sacrifice. To perform blood magic spells, a mage must sacrifice a part of oneself, typically in the form of blood sacrifice, hence the name. Blood magic was the earliest to be established due to the extreme conditions each of the outposts suffered through the first year. The blood mages used their powers to make the arid islands fertile, which was an extraordinary feat for all of the residents of the outposts. Fire magic was developed out of studying the natural world. With the ability to create fire on demand, many of the crops could now be cooked, which at first seems like an unnecessary quality, but certainly helped keep morale up. The fire mages used their skills to construct a metallurgy and workshop within their own outpost and a kitchen in the central outpost. This provided all residents good meals and the fire mages a space to craft technological improvements, such as a material that could remain burning for days at a time, dubbed live rocks. Of the 5 schools of magic, the most interesting magic to be developed was perspective magic, which alters based on the user. This school of magic allowed perspective mages the ability to augment their own capabilities. For example, one might be able to cast a spell to become stronger to lift heavier objects, or perhaps someone could cast a spell to use less energy while working. The perspective mages had the highest variability of jobs, as there was no one-size-fits-all spell to be used. The Stealth Mages outpost was formed of mostly those who fled the 2-year war within the last 3 days right before the outposts were disconnected from the rest of the world. The most likely scenario was that many Stealth Mages had never let go of the fear of persecution, that this happened to be the manifestation of that collective fear all in one place. What they had to offer at the time was of little benefit to the rest of the outposts, but their skills would serve a purpose in time. And the final of the schools of magic, divine magic. Many did not fully understand how divine magic worked, but it seemed to perform miracles such as healing the sick or making crops grow. Many of the Magi clan did not want to call this magic divine, as they knew that all magic came from the individual that used it rather than some divine being. But due to the immense benefits it could provide, they overlooked this nomenclature. By the end of the 10th or so year, the outpost began to operate very efficiently. There was a surplus of everything, except other Nur and land. Many had come to regret their decision after some time, and began to seek a way to break the head of the Magi clan's concealment spell he had used on the outposts. The decision to end the separation of the population had been agreed upon, as this seemed like the best route for connecting to the rest of the world. With a newly rediscovered freedom, each Nur began traveling to each outpost quite frequently to study the other schools of magic, which resulted in some mages having the ability to hybridize spells. This newfound knowledge meant that the mastery over one school of magic and the knowledge of another would allow some mages to create more unique adaptations of spells for more specific tasks. For example, a master stealth mage that also learned a simple fireball spell would be able to throw an invisible fireball. The head of the Magi clan began to see the inevitable end of this hybridizing magic as another all-out war on the rest of the world, so he quickly worked to separate the outposts once more. He pleaded his case to each outpost and told them what would come, and after not a single outpost agreed to his terms, he returned to the central outpost and destroyed the portals that once connected each outpost together. Suddenly, after years of success, it was all over in an instant. Families spread apart with no way of communicating, and 4 outposts were cut off from their food supply. Many saw this as the beginning of another war. The Magi clan had seized control of the central outpost, with access to all the resources each outpost needed to feed their people. The head of the Magi clan would once a week open a portal to allow the transport of 3 workers from each outpost, one at a time, to collect the food their people needed. This went on for 15 years, which left each outpost nothing more to do than to find a solution to overthrowing the Magi clan. But with all lines of communication cut off, the stealth mages used their harvest time to sneak into each outpost to spread research and information. For those 15 years, the stealth mages planned a successful overthrow of the Magi clan. The first stage was to move all residents into the Blood Mages outpost, as they could grow their own crops and have been relatively self-sufficient since the portal lockdown. The way this was accomplished was each week the stealth mages would send 5 of their most powerful through the portal, with the 3 workers while invisible to not cause alarm. Then each would need to wait until the head of the Magi clan would open a portal to another outpost for their weekly harvest. Once inside, the stealth mages would need to wait another week until the portal would be opened again to return to the central outpost, with others all while remaining invisible. Those who would accompany the stealth mage would then wait until the portal for the Blood Mages outpost portal would be opened again to successfully sneak people past the Magi clan. Each of the stealth mages need to be very powerful to hide many moving nerve, as well as supplies while waiting. But thanks to the large central outpost and the small number of the Magi clan, most of the time the stealth mage and their group would simply need to find a part of the outpost that was visited very infrequently until the next portal would be opened. Not all mages could be transported as to not raise suspicion of an attack, so those who stayed behind agreed to be left behind for the safety of their families and their people. According to all accounts, the Magi clan never went through a portal. However, there was nothing stopping them from doing so if the Magi clan believed there to be a coup forming, so the outpost agreed to never take the risk. The second stage was simple. As soon as the portal opened, as many mages that could fight would rush through the portal as would be possible. The plan was to overwhelm them and force the head of the Magi clan to open all 5 portals so that all could relocate to the central outpost. It would have worked if the head of the Magi clan didn't fall over dead as soon as it happened. With him dead, there was no one that could reopen the portals, but as he died, so too did the spell that kept the outpost from the rest of the world. Clearly, the head of the Magi clan was very powerful since the spell lingered past his death. As stated, prior it would take 30 days for all outposts to be returned to the rest of the world.